Hi, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking all about racing thoughts. So, one of the big things with anxiety that a lot of women struggle with are racing thoughts. So, this is where your thoughts are going super fast and you can't slow them down. So, if you are suffering from racing thoughts and anxiety and looking for an idea of how you can manage these racing thoughts throughout your day, then I'm going to show you in the next few minutes what you can do. So this is one of the things I address in the Holistic Anxiety Fix, which is a 12-week program that I offer for women who are struggling with anxiety. And racing thoughts are one of the symptoms that we work to eliminate in this amazing 12-week program. So definitely stick around if you have racing thoughts and want to learn a little bit more about them. I have worked in the anxiety field for a long time. So I'm trained as a therapist, and I also have training, my background as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And what that means is that I'm actually doing both the health side and the mental health side of things. And so when we think about racing thoughts, what you guys are probably experiencing is these thoughts that are just going so quickly that it feels like you can't even ground yourself in the moment. So maybe, you're out in nature or you're doing something that's supposed to be calming and your mind is just racing a mile a minute. For some women, this means they're worrying about things. So this could happen and this could happen and I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And so it's really, really difficult to kind of slow the thoughts down because things are just going so quickly in your mind. So it could be that, or it could be, other intruding thoughts that are coming in your mind that you're racing about, or maybe it's a deadline that you have. But whatever the thought content is, it typically tends to go very, very quickly. And it's hard to kind of manage that. And so I see a couple people are definitely liking this, which means let me know below, or is this something you're experiencing with the racing thoughts? And so what can be really difficult is that you know that you want to stop the racing thoughts, but you don't know how to get to this place of calm. And what sometimes happens is you tell yourself, okay, this isn't a big deal. I need to calm down. And usually that actually makes things worse, or it doesn't do much at all. It just makes you feel like you're incompetent at controlling your thoughts. And so you're kind of at this point of hey, my thoughts are racing and I want to be calm, but I don't know how to get there. And so this is actually something that I struggled with during my anxiety journey. So there was a point when I was very ill and my thoughts were they would go through waves of racing. So I would go for this walk in the forest and really go there because I wanted to be calm and relaxed, and my mind would just go like a mile a minute the whole time, and I couldn't even really enjoy where I was at all. If this is something you're struggling with, I just want to share that you're not alone in managing it. And so, like I said before, I tend to work with the biological side of things as well as the mental health side of things. So I'm looking at it from both perspectives. And so when we take the idea of racing thoughts, there's two lenses you need to look at it with. So one is, what you're worrying about, can you reframe that worry? So for example, if I'm stressed out about a blog post that I feel like needs to get posted, is it essential that it gets posted right this minute, or is my thoughts kind of racing about this and I need to reframe my worry around this, right? So you can look at it from that perspective, and then you can also look at it from the biological perspective. So what is going on biologically that's driving your racing thoughts? So what's happening to you that's stressing you out, that's driving your racing thoughts? Because essentially our thoughts are racing as a part of autonomic nervous system, right? So when we get into fight or flight, that sends our entire body into a panic. And one of the, I want to say, side effects of that are the racing thoughts, where your brain is like, gotta go in high gear because historically speaking, there's this bear running after you. And so once that system gets into gear, racing thoughts are an outcome of that, right? Because now you're in fight or flight. So now your body's preparing for this massive stress. And so now you have to figure out what to do about this massive stress. And that's where the racing thoughts come in, because biologically, historically, it made sense for your thoughts to go quickly because a bear is chasing you, right? So the question that I ask then is, what is turning on your nervous system? Is it your interpretation of the events that's turning it on? So you need to shift your mind frame, or is it something biological turning it on? And some of the most common things I see biologically, I see mold. So mold actually damages your nervous system. I also see food intolerances. So things like gluten will impact your nervous system as well. And that can create the racing thoughts. And something called copper toxicity. So this is very common with women who have ever been on birth control or who are estrogen dominant. The copper builds up in their system. And copper is very, very stimulatory. And so copper will actually lead it will lead your adrenal glands to be super overactive, and that creates the racing thoughts. Okay, so, I'm sharing this with you because I think it's really important to kind of shift your mind frame around the cause of your racing thoughts, because a lot of times people are just like, well, I just need to learn how to slow them down. Well, yes, you need to learn how to slow them down, and mind frame is important, and you need to get to whether or not there's a physiological cause. So one of the techniques you can use while you're waiting to get to the physiological cause of these racing thoughts is breath, okay? So breath is an incredible way to start to tell your nervous system that it's safe. So remembering your nervous system is being turned on, and that's where the racing thoughts are coming from. So we want to move you into a calmer nervous system state, or a parasympathetic rest and digest state. And one of the ways to do this is to use breath. And so one of the breath techniques you can try out is actually to slow your breath down and do square breathing. So it's inhaling for 4 counts, pausing, exhaling for 4 counts, and pausing. So obviously this is probably not something that's going to work right off the bat for you for racing thoughts. It's something you're going to want to try regularly when your thoughts aren't necessarily racing. And you can also try it when they're racing, because eventually what's going to happen is your body's going to get trained in recognizing that this breath is safe and it's something that's calming for you. So I'll give you an example. So when I did yoga, I do this special breath that my body's learned is calming. So now when I'm anxious, whenever I do that breath, my body's like, oh, that's the calming breath. And so it acts as a cue for that. Okay. So if you're interested in more breath exercises, you can just message me below, because I have a couple of YouTube videos as well that talk about breath exercises, so we can go more into breath exercises. But the key takeaway here is that, there's 2 kind of root causes of the racing thoughts, and one of them can be the biological piece. And so, slowing your thoughts down can be key, and using breath to do that is one of the many ways to slow your thoughts down. So I'd like to hear from you if you've tried breath, if it's worked for you, if it hasn't worked for you. Tell me more about your experience with racing thoughts, and what you've tried for that racing thoughts, and what does or does not work for you, because I definitely can feel your pain if that's something that you're struggling with. I almost feel like, having the racing thoughts is almost painful, because you know where you want to be and you just can't figure out how to get there. So I'm here to guide you along your way. And so message me personally if you want to take this conversation in a private format. All right, enjoy your evening.